I'm sure by now many of you would have already heard of the multiple killings in Rohtak in Haryana a few days back. This is one case that lays bare so many social issues and deeply disturbing relationship dynamics within seemingly regular and happy families. It also underlines the need for free and frank communication and understanding between parents and children so that a disaster of such a scale can be averted. The fateful day of August 27th had begun like any other day. At around 10:30 am, 20-year-old Abhishek Malik had breakfast with his family, including his father, mother, and maternal grandmother, while his 17-year-old sister slept in a room upstairs of their palatial villa in Vijayanagar. But minutes later, all of this was going to change forever. In a chilling development that has left the nation in shock and awe, Abhishek, aka Monu, the son of a Rohtak-based property dealer Pradeep Malik, aka Bablu, allegedly gunned down his entire family, including his mother, father, sister, and grandmother. Reason? His family did not approve of his alleged homosexual relationship with one of his batchmates, for which he reportedly even wanted to undergo a sex change surgery. The murders were committed on August 27th and Abhishek was arrested a few days later by the Rohtak police after days of grueling interrogation where Abhishek changed his versions multiple times over. And the police claims that this wasn't a spur of the moment crime. The youngster had been planning the murders for quite a few days now, and the events leading up to the crime and after that are just as shocking as the killings itself. The Haryana police have in fact revealed a grisly account of what exactly transpired in Abhishek's house that I must warn you is not for the weak-hearted. So viewer discretion is strongly advised at this point, and you can of course check the uncut version of this chilling story on my Instagram as well. On the morning of August 27th, Abhishek quietly sneaked out an illegally possessed pistol from his father's drawer. He then slipped into his sister's room, who was resting at the time. He first turned up the volume of the TV to drown the noise of the unholy crime that he was just about to commit. He then aimed the gun directly at his sister's head and then shot her at a point-blank range. Imagine the horror of his teenage sister Neha at the moment she was being shot by her own elder brother. The girl was badly injured and lost the battle between life and death after putting up a fight for 2 days at a hospital. After fatally shooting his sister, Abhishek locked her room and went downstairs, leaving her gasping for breath. He then invited his Nani, Roshni Devi, who was 70 years old, into his room, saying that he wanted to play guitar for her. The old lady had no reason to distrust her grandson and promptly went inside, only to never come back alive. Brace yourself for what you will hear next. As per the police, Abhishek simply just shot the 70-year-old defenseless lady in the forehead, instantly knocking her down. So fierce was the force of the bullet that it pierced her forehead and struck the opposite wall, leaving a gaping hole that was perhaps symbolic of the vacuum of emotions that this family had been suffering in understanding each other. What followed was even more cold-blooded, as this 20-year-old boy then comes down and acts as if nothing had happened, even as his sister was fighting for life in her room unattended, and in yet another room, his Nani was already dead and gone. Just 5 minutes later, when Abhishek's 40-year-old mother, Santosh aka Babli Devi, asked him about his Nani, he simply just pointed towards the second floor. As Santosh started going upstairs to see her mother, her son followed behind silently. As Santosh reached the room, she was aghast to see her mother lying in a pool of blood. But little did she know that she was next. Abhishek, her son, was standing right behind her, trained his gun on his mother and shot her as well, killing her instantly. But Abhishek wasn't done yet. He again came downstairs, where his father Pradeep was resting on a sofa watching some videos on his mobile phone. The police said he was completely unaware of the bloody carnage that had just taken place in his own house and continued watching the videos. His son Abhishek then came and sat next to him calmly. Then, just like that, he drew his revolver from beneath, looked into his father's eyes for one last time and pumped not one, not two, but all 3 remaining bullets into his face. After wiping off his entire family in the most gruesome manner, Abhishek checked into a hotel near the Delhi bypass with his alleged boyfriend and started giving shape to the story that he thought could set him free forever. After checking into the hotel, Abhishek actually called his parents' number for the record, knowing fully well that no one would be alive to take this call. After that, he called his maternal uncle, who lived in the same colony. Abhishek told him that he was worried sick because his parents were not answering the phone. He then returned home and alerted his neighbors about the bloodbath, crying and howling as if he was devastated. The one thing he did not expect, though, was to see his little sister alive and desperately fighting for life. He, along with his neighbors, then had to rush her to the hospital, but Neha ultimately gave up and died too. After about 5 days of changing statements and mounting evidence against him, the police formally arrested Abhishek on 2nd of September. Abhishek's uncle said that he stayed with them until his arrest and that they were still in shock over the incident. He said that they could not believe that Abhishek was capable of murdering his entire family like this, as his parents loved him a lot and gave him everything he wanted. But clearly, that wasn't the case. A senior police officer said his relationship was unacceptable to Abhishek's parents, who wanted him to discontinue it. On the other hand, Abhishek was adamant about continuing his relationship and wanted to live with his companion. He even demanded money from his parents, but they refused. Now, Abhishek was not only gay, but was also convinced that he was a woman trapped in a man's body. According to the police, Abhishek's boyfriend had come to Rohtak from Uttarakhand on 25th August, just 2 days before the multiple killings. The two youngsters had met in the airline cabin crew class some 2 years back when Abhishek's family had sent him for a course in the aviation hospitality industry. There, Abhishek had apparently fallen in love with this guy in his class and the two had started dating. Police said that it was only 2 years back that Abhishek had come out to his family, but his parents never approved of his way of life. Abhishek also wanted to undergo a gender reassignment surgery, which cost anywhere between 2 and 5 lakhs in India. He needed money for that, and there are also reports that claim that he wanted to settle abroad with his boyfriend. Police say that he had been asking for money from his family, but they weren't complying with his demand, nor were they okay with his sexual orientation. This had led to a considerable conflict within them that eventually ended in a massive tragedy. A tragedy that ended 4 lives and effectively destroyed the life of this 20-year-old who had a bright future ahead of him. One look at his Instagram account and you will see just how seemingly normal and happy he looked. Just like any other youngster of his age, posting filtered photos, mouthing filmy dialogues and posing like a model. But who knew that behind this glossy exterior lay a deeply disturbing and dark personality who was leading a double life, a life riddled with conflicts and choices that are forbidden in our society. Experts believe that this unfortunate tragedy could have been avoided only if Abhishek's family had shown empathy and understanding for his situation and promoted a healthy dialogue with their child. This family was well off and affluent. They could afford external help as well, like counseling. But the very thought of their son being gay wasn't acceptable to them. There was no attempt to look beyond the societal cliches and into the deeper recesses of their child's psyche, where unacceptance and disagreement had led to resentment and ultimately contempt. This contempt turned into hate, which eventually snowballed into an irreversible act of savagery. Call it the fear of being mocked at or being shunned by the society, but many families in our country either just brush important life issues like sexual orientation under the carpet or try to fix it by getting their sons and daughters married with the opposite sex. But we must think, what is more dangerous and diabolical? The societal judgment and the log kya kahenge syndrome, or a tragedy of this scale that has no turning back? On the face of it, this is just another shocking crime story that hit the headlines last week. But look deeper and you will find layers of all ills that go into the making of a murderer. Yes, criminals are not born, they are made. And if we cannot see the telltale signs that can only spell doom and disaster for those around them, then we are doomed for sure. As per some reports, Abhishek, who is currently in jail, still claims that he is innocent and has nothing to do with his family's murders. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please bear in mind the sensitivity of this case and the YouTube community guidelines while doing so. You can connect with me on Instagram and on Facebook. It's @ReviewRon on both. Of course, you can subscribe here, like and share if you like my videos. But even if you don't do any of these things, thank you so much for watching this one. Please take care of yourself and those around you. Jai Hind.